Hello everyone, welcome back to Bryan's Business World. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is who should, and perhaps most importantly, who should not become an entrepreneur. Now, I think most employees at one time or another have fantasized or thought of striking out on their own, being their own boss, throwing off the yoke of corporate America, being their own man, being their own woman, doing their own thing, striking out on new paths, and just not dealing with any of the employment or job day-to-day nonsense. And I think everyone has certainly thought of it, at least who's an employee has certainly thought of it, but I also think that many people have seriously entertained the idea. Now, in a lot of self-help books, articles, magazines, blogs, other YouTube channels, many of those places will give you bold, cheerleading, rah, rah, rah encouragement to do that. Be bold, take risk, pursue your dreams, follow your dreams, live big, go big. You'll hear these sort of endless litany of mantras, to go for it and, be your own boss. So, and honestly, a lot of that is rah-rah nonsense, for lack of a better word. There's no realism associated with that. There's no realistic assessment of the individual involved with that, and it's just sort of generic mantra advice given to the great unwashed masses. So we're not, going to talk about that today. And again, there's plenty of other places and sources where you can get that type of generic cheerleading for you. Today, we're going to talk about why people should not be entrepreneurs and take some really hard look at the psychological traits and personality traits that would prevent most employees from being successful entrepreneurs. So why should most employees not become entrepreneurs? First reason, the stable paycheck. Now, there really is no such thing as a stable paycheck. It is a complete and unequivocal fantasy. It's like believing in the tooth fairy. Your job can end at any time, whether it's in the public or private sector, and nothing is, quote, stable, unquote, that can just suddenly end like that. It can't be stable if it can be taken away from you instantly. Nonetheless, many people fervently believe, as if, believing in the tooth fairy, that there is such a thing as a stable paycheck. Now, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to step away from that entire concept, the entire idea of a stable paycheck. And candidly, I do not think most people can do that. The stable paycheck is a mooring, is a psychological mooring of their personality and their psyche, and they can't step away from it. Now, what's interesting with this is intellectually, most people, if you buttonhole them and corner them and push the issue really, really hard, would intellectually agree with you that there is no such thing as a stable paycheck. But despite that intellectual acknowledgement, in reality, psychologically, they cannot divorce themselves from the stable paycheck. They just can't do it. So for that reason, I think that many, many employees and would-be entrepreneurs should not go down the entrepreneurial path. The stable paycheck is just too important for them psychologically, and they cannot step away from it. Second reason why most people should not become entrepreneurs: self-discipline. I don't think most people appreciate how much discipline is imposed on them by their jobs. You have to be here by 8 or 9 or 6, leave by 5 or 6 when you take your lunch breaks. Okay? Employers created all of that, both in the public and private sector, because people weren't doing it. They weren't self-disciplined. In theory, you wouldn't need any rules like that at all if employees were truly self-disciplined. So there's a tremendous amount of discipline that is imposed on most employees day to day by their employers. And honestly, I don't think most employees are even aware of it. I mean, dress codes, vacation policies, you name it, reimbursement policies, all of that, all of it. In fact, I would challenge you to find something that doesn't originate as the basis of it doesn't come from a lack of self-discipline on the part of the employees. All those rules and regulations are there because people cannot police themselves, cannot discipline themselves. There'll be no one there making sure that you show up at 5 in the morning so your business succeeds day after day, week after week. And yes, including the weekends, your beloved weekends, you might have to jettison to succeed as an entrepreneur. So kind of in closing here today, 2 key takeaway points. One is that most entrepreneurs, or rather most employees, not entrepreneurs, are too psychologically attached to their, quote, stable, unquote, paycheck to really succeed as an entrepreneur. Most employees are too wedded to the tooth fairy-esque fantasy of the stable paycheck to really be able to step away from it and go forward and build a business as an entrepreneur. And that is absolutely required to succeed as an entrepreneur. You have to step away from it. 2, most people are not, do not have the hardcore self-discipline to succeed as an entrepreneur, and they do not understand how much discipline is imposed on them that they quite frankly need from their employer. So for yourself, how does this boil down to you, for the folks watching this? For yourself, I think it's crucial to have self-honesty in your discussions with yourself about taking the plunge or not taking the plunge in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. I think you really have to look at how attached to the paycheck are you, the fantastical stable paycheck, and 2, how much actual self-discipline do you have to succeed? Now, I know I've been negative on this whole segment so far, but if you have honestly explored those 2 topics with yourself, and you are ready for the self-discipline, and you are ready to step away from that paycheck, perhaps you are ready to be an entrepreneur. So that's the good news. But for the vast majority of people, I would say that they are deluding themselves into thinking that they can do those things. Thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. Feel free to add something in the comments box, and send us an email, subscribe to our channel. Look forward to future discussions with you. Thank you.